Hello, my name is Eddie Flewell, and I'm your host for the Playground. And today we have vocalist, singer, songwriter, producer, LYNN DAVIS. And for those who don't know Lynn by name, let me tell you, this lady has pretty much performed for everybody. And I mean, performed, sang, wrote, everybody. Starting with one of my keyboard heroes, actually the keyboard hero, George Duke. LYNN DAVIS, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Looking beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Eddie. Thank
Let
you.
me ask you first of all.
Pandemic.
That was my question. How are you doing, through this whole thing?
Well, I actually see it as a blessing. We've been afforded the time to reinvent ourselves. We have the time to work on some things we haven't maybe had the time before. So It's been a positive.
Good.
In the midst of all this negativity, it's still been a positive for me.
Thank you. And it is negative. And that's a struggle for a lot of us these days, because especially us in the entertainment world, us creatives, it's like,
absolutely.
What do we do with this? What do we do with this?
Okay, so, now what?
Let me ask you this. First of all, you don't have any CDs out of your own, right?
Not yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Been coming before the end of the year. Yeah.
Are you taking advantage of this time to work on that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I was
something coming out, LYNN DAVIS from the vault.
From the vault.
It's going to be amazing, actually.
Okay. Does it by any chance feature some of the people that you've worked with over the years?
Yes, it has. It does. Absolutely.
Let me go over this list real quick, because I wrote them down. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, there are so many, LYNN, that you were, as you know. I mean, you've worked with like so many people, and I'm like literally writing this list down. It's like the list goes on and on and on and on and on. I'm like, okay, let me just stop. But anyway, I have George Duke, Patrice Rushen, Vesta Williams, Jeffrey Osborne, Sheila E., Stevie Wonder.
Yes, my favorite. Yes.
Lalo Schifrin.
Yes. Marvin Hamlich. Steven Spielberg.
I got to go back to Lalo Schifrin. I was a fan of his since I was a child. When I first heard the theme to Mission Impossible, I was all in. Like I said, this is like when I was a kid. I was just learning how to play piano, and I was all in then. And the theme to Mannix and all that stuff. I'm like, are you guys listening to this dude? this dude here.
It's been an amazing journey.
Yeah.
It's really good. He said our gift will take us before kings and queens, royalty, and create a way for us, and it really has.
I'm sure it has for you, big time. Oh, and like I said, I'm barely scratching the surface. Stanley Turrentine, Sarita Wright, Greg Fillinganes, Billy Preston. I mean, this list goes on and on and on and on and on. And how you maintained, I mean, it seems like you went from, I mean, literally, like, I'm working with these people like this week, and then next week I'll be with them. I'm sorry, let's say I'm working with these people from this week to how many years, and then after this year is done, I'll be working with this person. And again, legends, which speaks volumes to your talent. I mean,
thank you so much. So, while we're on the journey, we never know what's ahead. It's like an everyday walk of faith. It really is.
And you're just like I said, I mean, your talent just speaks for itself. I mean, it just continues on and on and on. Did you have any like long breaks during that period? It seems like it was like the whole year, couple of years, it's all been LYNN DAVIS, just working.
No, there were no breaks.
No downtime.
No, there was no downtime those days. Okay. Not at all.
Okay.
No. The decision in those days was, oh my God, I have this chance to go on tour with such and such. But then if I go on tour, then I'm going to lose all the studio work. That was the decision.
What a nice problem to have.
And then there's some decisions like, oh, Stevie Wonder wants me to go on tour. No decision. I'm gone.
No.
Marvin Gaye. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gone.
And fortunately, I'm sure, you're considering it fortunate that it just so happened to work out to where you could do that,
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So let's go back to your beginning. Such as it was, okay. Starting out, you're singing. I'm assuming as a child and all that, you're singing and all that. And then, what was it that first of all, how old were you when it was discovered that hey, this little girl right here, she's got something.
4 or 5 years old.
Really?
Actually, yes. I mean, full swing at 5 and 6 years old in church. My father was a classical singer, amazing voice, many opportunities. He was asked to do the original Porgy and Bess.
Oh, wow.
We didn't do it back in those days because, he had a family and he was concerned about, it was a lot more difficult for them in those days. So when he would come home, he was also a classical singer, and he would learn his pieces in different languages. I would be sitting right there on the piano with him,
Really?
learning the songs, singing them in the same language that he was singing them in. And when he would go we'd go to the opera to hear his performance. And my mother said I would stand in the aisle and sing everybody's part.
Wow. Just without being asked. I mean, you just did that. You just did that on your own.
Yeah.
Wow. And needless to say, sang all the parts right.
I sang in different languages as well. And whatever my father brought home for me to listen to, I think my first favorite vocalist was Sammy Davis Jr. Let's see, Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Washington was my mom's favorite, So my introduction to music was gospel first, and then jazz, classical and jazz. Yeah.
And you're listening to this, I mean, throughout your childhood. I mean, from elementary on into high school.
Absolutely. And then my sister started bringing home the albums. So I started listening to the doo-wop groups, the Shy Lights, the Whatnots,
The Whatnots. Oh my.
You remember that? I went back.
Yes. You did. Maybe I just totally dated myself. I just totally aged myself.
Right. And then let's see, the Jackson 5 blew all of our minds.
Of course. Right.
And I met them actually once in Vegas because my friend's father was their security guard, Bill Bray. And I remember saying to Michael and Marlon, I'm going to sing with you guys one day.
No way.
So, yeah, I really did. And when I was working up at Tito's house on the 2300 Jackson Street album, I just kind of went to the side and cried because it was just so amazing.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's wow. It's just they call that now. What do they call that? With the Simpsons, and I forget what they call it now. But
I'm sure
that I was just speaking it into existence by my faith.
Wow.
And it happened.
Wow. I'm sure that was a surreal moment for you when you realized that, hey, I remember saying that I was going to be here, and here you are. Like you said, you spoke it into existence.
Yeah, I was working with, I went to, Michael's and their parents' house several times because I was producing and arranging for LaToya Jackson's album back in the day. And so I was very familiar with the Jacksons and very grateful, to be able to connect with them because I've always loved their art so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to go back to, and again, in your beginning and everything, you're going from, 5 years old, you're singing through gospel, and you're following like all these different people,
Right.
and your father's practicing, and you're listening to all this. And then at the ripe old age of 16,
I did the Battle of the Bands.
Yes.
Actually, before that, I did the Battle of the Bands.
It was before. Okay.
It was a vocal group, and it was a duet. And it was the first time in the history of the Battle of the Bands that a vocal group won overall. And
By the way, the Shades of Love.
The Shades of Love, you know.
Come on now.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Actually, we turned it out. It was hot. We turned it out.
To be the first like duo to win that kind of thing in its history, the Battle of the Bands at the Hollywood Bowl in its history.
Yes, it was amazing.
So
and people came running down, screaming, and you know, we had a great arrangement, and it was just magical.
How many songs did you do?
We did a medley.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We did a medley.
Do you remember what the songs were?
Four songs. We did "Stop On By," "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." I can't remember the other ones.
That was my cut then too.
Oh man, that was the cut, wasn't it?
It was. It was.
She did a duet on that one. I forget who she sang that with. Do you remember who she sang that with?
Who Shaka Khan? That was Rufus.
That was Rufus, wasn't it?
Yep, that was Rufus. And Tony Maiden. Tony Maiden. Yep. Oh my gosh. Philip will have to tell you the story, because I remember we were learning that song too, and Philip was singing all the Shaka parts and everything. And it was like, oh yeah. So yep. So you win the battle you win the Battle of the Bands and everything. Now, please tell me about the friend that comes along and tells you, hey, you need to go audition with George Duke, right? How long after your Battle of the Bands did that happen?
I was about,
and if I'm skipping anything, please fill in the blanks, because I'm like, you know.
I was about 16 and a half, 17.
16 and a half.
And I think I never knew. I came home, my mom said, first of all, I used to make a career out of going to auditions, and my keyboard player and I would say, hey, yeah, let's go over there and let's go to this audition, let's turn it out. I was like, okay, cool. And
and you were down, you were up for that.
We were just kids, you know. The world was ours, we thought, you know. So I got the call, I came home, my mom said, you have an audition with George Duke. So I talked to a friend of mine and I said, is that guy that did that song, Surely You Break My Heart? And she said, yeah. I was like, oh, I can't wait to go to this audition. And he's bad, you know?
Now, real quick, Lynn, I want to go back to what you just said. You made a career out of auditioning. I mean, at that age, you thought, hey, this is how we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know? And people need to get that, you know, because there are people who will shy away from auditioning. But if you look at it like that, we're going to make a career out of auditioning. I believe,
because every time that you audition, you're relaxing and growing into what it is that you're doing and what it is to present yourself to people. And when I tell you the story about Stevie, then you're going to understand that I take that even further. When you meet somebody, you seize the opportunity. I didn't take opportunities for granted at all.
Wow. Hear that. Everybody watching the show, please hear that.
And preparation, when you prepare, it's like when I was younger, I remember my parents coming into my room and going, have you done your homework? And I'd look at them like, and they said, if you would spend as much time doing your homework as you do in this room vocalizing, I put in the work. You know, so when the opportunities and the time came, you know, my voice was ready, I was ready.
And that you had that focus at that age, because I mean, usually at that age, that's when we're kind of like all over the place.
That's all I wanted to do. No boys, no anything. I went to USC for my mom and dad, you know, like, okay, I'll go to, I got scholarships, I might as well go.
And I was going to ask you when you were talking about, like, you know, the keyboard player is the one who said that, you know, hey, you know, there's this audition with George Duke. I was going to ask you, okay, what friends you know at that age know somebody like George Duke, you know, and said, hey, we need to go over there. But I mean, that explains it, that you made that a career. We're going to audition. This is what we're going to do.
And my friends, you know, it was a very small circle because my focus was music and they knew it. So I had friends around me that loved music just as much as I did. And oh my gosh, I got to tell you about the mini concerts. So I used to do mini concerts in my mom's house. I mean, I even remember my parents letting Dorsey High's workshop band set up in our living room because we were doing a talent show and we needed a place to rehearse. So she let all the guys, Eddie Tate, all them, you know, set up in the living room.
At Dorsey.
I used to do concerts of the
Now, you didn't go to Dorsey, did you?
No, I went to Crenshaw for about a year.
I got you.
After the South Bay. Yeah.
Okay. And Dorsey, I mean, let it be said, I mean, Dorsey, I mean, just a wealth of talent came out of that school.
That came out of there. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's Dorsey in Los Angeles. Just like I said, just a wealth of talent came from there.
Yes.
So you auditioned for George Duke.
So I went to the audition for George Duke and I had a big fro. It was humongous. It was like this, right? And so
you walk into the room.
So I walked into the room and there was about 30, there's a lot of vocalists, female vocalists in there. And people were auditioning and then they would stay to look at the competition. So half of them
and like you said, you walk in with your, you know,
with my fro, and one of my girlfriends went with me, and I saw all these women, and you know, I was like, wow. And I said, okay, well, who's next? Who's the last, so I can get behind them. And a lot of them kept saying to me, oh, we already auditioned. So they were just there to see the competition, you know. You know how that goes.
Right.
And so
now, do you know if they had auditioned already, or were they just?
A lot of them had auditioned already.
Okay.
And they were just sitting there waiting to see the competition. And so it was my time to audition. And George is just such a sweetheart from the very beginning.
Thank you for saying that. I'd like I said, I never met him, but I always wondered.
Always super down to earth, professional, very inviting. His person was, and very soothing. You know, he made you feel comfortable. The other guys, it's in the store, but that was their gig, though. You know what I mean? Everybody serves a purpose. And
like I said, for me, I'm glad to hear that, because I'm like I said, as a keyboard player, I mean, he was like one of my first keyboard heroes. So I mean, to this day, I mean, I miss him. I'm sure you do. I miss his playing. I miss listening to him. But anyway, I'm sorry. I digress.
Those are the times when musicians were really, you know, and vocalists were really, the expectation was high. So they expected you to come in and bring it. You know what I mean? And that is the vibe. Like, okay, let's see what you got. And
now, was the full band there, or was it just George?
No, it was Byron Miller and Dugu. I think it was Icarus that was playing guitar.
Okay.
And George, I don't remember. Or maybe it was just those three. So,
of course, with George, I mean, do you really need a band? So
right. So he had me do some Brazilian, you know, because that was George's thing. So he needed to see how quickly I picked up parts. And then, of course, I got to freestyle. And of course, I went to Shaka Khan land, because, you know, that's where, you know, everybody who was anybody and hip to what was happening, Shaka was so revolutionized vocals. So,
and like you said, you had already started with the audition with Stop On By. So, I mean, you know, let alone whatever else you did back then. So you were good. You're good.
Right. So I finished the auditioning and I left.
Oh, you didn't hang around? I
didn't hang around. You have to
That's
understand
class.
that my socialization wasn't within the music industry. You know what I mean? So I wasn't there to compete. I wasn't there. That has never been my thing. I was there to do what I was there to do. And after I was there to do, it was out of my hands. So I left, and I felt pretty good and confident about it. And I did get called back, and it was my first session. I believe it was for Raul de Souza or Milton Nascimento with George. And he heard me saying that I was like 16 years old. He was like, "You can't go with me on this tour. This is a nightclub tour. You're too young. Come see me in a couple of years, you know." And I never let him forget me. Bless his heart. He gave me his phone number, and I used to call him at least once every 6 months, and I talked to him, or I talked to his wife, Corrine, and you know, they knew me. So when it came time, I think it was about maybe a year later, I was like 17 and a half. He held auditions, and then I went on my first tour first I went to Brazil in 1979, I think. And then worked on the Follow the Rainbow album. And then I did my first European tour with George.
Wow. That's and again, the ripe old age of 17.
17 and a half. 18.
17 and a half. At 17 and a half, right? And you've got an album out on George, with George and all that, and you're promoting that album.
Right. We're promoting Follow the Rainbow.
Okay.
And ever so often I would go, "Can I do a song on the show? You know, and he was like, "Oh, just hold on, just want to get a little bit more experience underneath you."
Right. I'm an album guy.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So show you the big fan that I am. I'm an album guy.
Oh my gosh, Eddie.
And now we're going to move on. And please, let's talk about this.
Master of the Game. Yeah. I want you for myself.
Thank you. And I know that's like, you know, that's a song that, you know, those that know you, they recognize you from the song. I got to share this with you. When I first heard that album, first of all, from the first cut, I was like, and needless to say, I mean, if it's George Duke's record, it's already good, right?
Right, absolutely.
So I'm playing this album, and I got my headphones on, and of course, it's crazy loud and everything. And then I Want You For Myself comes on, the song that features LYNN Davis. And Lynn, I'm sitting there like, oh my God. And again, needless to say, I mean, the song is awesome. Your vocals are awesome. And George, I ain't going to even talk about him.
Right.
The mix was awesome. Everything about that song from top to bottom was just right.
Yeah.
And I literally stopped, and I must have played that song, I don't know, 50, 75 times before I let it move on. And this is in the days of, you know, like the turntable. So I'm like, I got to go hear that again. Let's hear that again. Ooh, let's go back, hear that again. What was the inspiration? First of all, is that the song that, like you said, you know, can I have my own song? Was that the song, or there were others before that one?
No, actually, when I would ask him, can I do a song on the show? I had a favorite song of his. It was called Love and Life. And I really wanted to do that song. And so it wasn't like I wanted him to ever asked him to write a song for me.
Okay.
So when we were in the studio recording Master of the Game, he actually allowed myself and the other vocalists to sing the song. And he said, you know, this song, you know, I believe as a writer too, that the song kind of tells you who it wants, what it wants. And he said, this is your song. And
so he didn't write that song for you?
No, I don't think so, you know, but George was, he was special, you know, so I don't know if while he was writing songs for the project that he projected, you know, okay, I have these type of vocalists, you know, they would be able to, maybe he did in that sense, but he never shared with me like he consciously wrote a song for me. No.
Okay. Now I did hear that as far as his writing. I mean, he wrote in a way that would feature like everybody in his band.
Yeah, he was amazing.
You know, that would highlight them, you know, their talents or whatever.
Yes.
So, and if it was intentional or not, man, did he feature you on that one? I mean, he highlighted you on that one.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And you brought your game on that one too. Totally.
Oh, thank you.
What was the session? I was going to ask about that one specifically, but what were the sessions like with him? I mean, needless to say, it was serious because it was George, but I mean, it was always positive?
It was always fun.
Okay.
I mean, we all knew who we were working with in the level, but George, I think, always attracted the most talented, of everyone.
And he would bring that positivity to the studio.
Oh, it was serious because we knew the level of musicianship, and artistry of everyone there. But it was always fun. Always fun. Pluck, and that's one. And
thank you.
And talking stuff,
And you hung in there with the funky stuff though too. I mean, Matt, I mean the really serious. I mean the Dookie stuff, all the Dookie trademark. You hung in there.
Well, yeah. I mean, he had already done "Reach for It" before I became part and parcel, right? Right. But oh yeah, I could hang with all that. That was my roots as well.
Now, how do you? I mean, the time that you're working with him and everything. I mean, needless to say, that's a career in and of itself. I mean, hey, I perform with. I'm done. I'm good. We can move on now. I mean, you went from him, like I said, to like other like legends in their time. From George, and of course that relationship, you maintain that relationship, and you always work with George. I mean,
for
throughout.
years,
Yeah.
for the next 8 years. For the next. So whatever projects that he did, I was usually on, and movie scores But right after meeting George, I think the next person that I started working a lot with was Patrice Rushen.
Another keyboard hero.
And went on tour with Patrice. And
actually, how did that happen?
Patrice's mom and dad lived in the same neighborhood as my parents. And I used to run. That's when my track running days, and I can't.
You ran track?
Oh yeah, I mean, I loved to run. When I wasn't running, I was thinking about running. I loved it.
Oh,
and
wow.
And so I don't remember exactly who did the introduction, but when we realized we lived so close, Patrice and I started running together, and she actually was the first one that recognized my writing abilities. And so then Lovely and Divine Music was born out of the collaboration with Patrice Rushen. And, it was always fun. Sometimes the vocals would sound so good and the blend was so hot that we just look at each other and start laughing, in the middle of a take, like,
and
Settle for My Love, and
I'm
that Freddie Washington would say, we put that thing on it.
I'm glad you brought that out too, because I mean, I've focused, and needless to say, I'm kind of partial to keyboard players and all that stuff. And in this interview so far, I mean, I focused on George's playing, and same with Patrice. These were no slouches vocally either. I mean, they could sing. I mean, no, let me rephrase that. They can sing.
Yeah, I thought so. George was always very critical of his voice, but I thought he
Are you serious? Really?
Beautiful, unique voices and falsettos of wow.
I loved his voice. And I mean, it's his harmonies. I mean, come on now.
Amazing harmonies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the same with Patrice. I mean, her voice, beautiful voice.
Beautiful voice, and just her concept of just production and how to put things together, and just amazing. It was wonderful working with Patrice.
Wow. Like I said, we're only focused. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean,
I was fortunate. I mean, to come into the business and be surrounded by not only exceptional musicianship, but I can't talk right now.
It's early. It's early. So,
oh my God, I've been up since 5, but that's what you do during the pandemic. Get up, get your walk on, and you know.
that's me.
But they were good people, and you know, it was, you know, a no drug, no silly stuff, no dangerous stuff kind of environment, and that's important. When you're so young and you're getting into a business like the music business, that's
exactly.
it's pockets of seediness here and there,
Exactly.
temptation everywhere, and you know.
And like I said, that speaks volumes to you as a person, also, not as well as a musician. I mean, that you kept your eye on the ball. I mean, you did not deviate from keeping your eye on the ball, and you kept it moving. And I like your audition stories. Like, I came here to audition. I didn't come here to hang out. I didn't come here to party. I did that, and I'm out. You know, so my business here for now is done. You know, and I love that.
They were actually the very first tour in Europe. They were concerned about me because I wouldn't hang out a lot after the show. That's just wasn't my thing. I would go back to the room to a book. You know, I got to save my vocals for the next show. You know?
For you up and coming vocalists, please listen to that. Because I mean, you're right. And I mean, you know,
as a vocalist, your entire body is your instrument. So you can't be tired. Your voice is going to be tired.
And you can't hide it either. I mean, you know, if your voice is tired, you cannot hide that.
No.
So you always took care of
go
yourself.
out and drink the night before you have to do a show, and your vocal cords are all swollen and you know, inflamed, and you might be able to pull it off, but it won't be, you know, like I would.
It's not you.
Right.
So okay, and again, and I mean, we can go on with. I'm sure we talk about, like, you're doing a CD. Okay, are you going to write a book? I just lost you again. Okay, there you are. Okay, are you going to write a book?
I have written a book.
You have? Okay.
Right now, I'm having it edited, and it should be coming out very shortly.
Is there a title?
Yes, there is.
Do tell. Can you share yet?
No, the title. It's called Above Circumstance.
Above Circumstance.
Yes.
LYNN DAVIS, Above Circumstance. Let me.
And it's got some stories in it to hopefully to educate, to illuminate, and to elevate those that are up and coming. What to expect, how to conduct themselves with respect. I have Me Too stories. I have stories of people not being as respectful as they should. You know, when you've got kids, and we were kids, you know, coming in full of dreams and aspirations, and all you're worried about is what's in it for you, or you try to take advantage of her because she's a woman and talented and beautiful. You know, you can really squash someone's joy for wanting to, you know, continue to pursue their dream. I think we have a responsibility, not just us coming into the business, but those that are there. You know, you've got to protect the young people that are coming in. You got to protect their dreams. You have to protect their integrity and show them how to move with self-respect and integrity, you know?
Now you kind of touched upon that. Women in the business. Okay. Needless to say, I mean, they're the business. I mean, there are women there. I mean, what was it like for you on the business side of it? I mean, can you speak on that, or do you want to say that for the book? Because I'm sure you speak on that in the book.
I'll speak on it right now a bit.
Okay. Okay.
I can't say that as far as when I got into the business, I never said, oh, my aspiration was never to be a background singer. I didn't even know that was a career. It just
really?
No, I just wanted to get into the music business, and I think then my main goal was to be an artist, a solo artist. And it was easy to get caught up in, the support scene. Number one, because people were requesting, for what you bring. And I think what I brought was a sound.
You did.
And I will say this, and though I am very blessed and I'm very grateful that the people that included me into their vision and their world, and I was able to be a part of some wonderful wonderful music that'll be around for forever.
Yes.
I wish more people would be vested in helping those people like myself get something of their own within this business, and not just partake of what we have to offer you. You know what I mean? And I mean, Quincy does it, has done it, James Ingram and Patty Austin. And, I think it was a smart thing to do. That didn't really happen, for me. And although I did have, you'll have to read the book, and there are some stories.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Interesting stories. But, in any business where I think there's, an unspoken group of people who Philip Ingram and I, as for instance, would say we were part of the A team. We worked weekly, and we were A-team callers. You know what I mean? And I think we were A-team callers because we always brought a level of excellence, and we always brought more than we were expected to give, And so within that group, you always have people who are trying to penetrate that level, and I'm the kind of person that was always extending a hand and trying to help. But you know how it goes, Eddie. People vying for your position, and I was very young and naive and thought that people were actually friends, and there are very few friends. It's really about two people working towards a common goal. And I have this saying that you can never assess who a person is when they're in a position of need, because they'll be whoever they think you need them to be. It's when they don't need you anymore is when you see the real them. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, like Philip Ingram.
But very few.
But very, very few. On one hand, fingers left over. You know what I'm saying? So, and then there are women in the business that conduct themselves like I did, with respect and integrity. And there were women that made it difficult for women like me to do business on a certain level because they were doing business differently. And that was always challenging, always. and it was a man's business. So at that point in time, my inspiration for doing, I wanted to do it all. I wanted to write my songs, produce, because I said, if Tina Marie can do it, you know, she was a bad girl. She was doing it. So I was producing my own demos, writing my own songs, and I tried to get, you know, publishing deals. And I remember going into Warner Brothers with a friend of mine who was present in the studio as I was recording these songs. And the West Coast manager said to her, I don't believe that she did this. Did she do this? She really produced? She said, yeah, I was there while she was doing it. So those are the kind of barriers that I experienced.
Wow. Wow.
More than anything. It gets kind of squirrely out there too, you know.
Oh, and it
still
is.
You're gonna have to read the book, but
oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. Above Circumstance. It's funny, you had mentioned earlier as far as going to school for your parents and all that, and you did that. But I mean, for you, it seems to me like the best school you had gone to was the business. And I mean, the people that you've worked with, I mean, you know, you can't be taught that in school. You can't be taught. And again, I mean, we're talking legends here. I mean, you know, again, you know, George Duke, Patrice Rushen, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and all that. I mean, you can't be taught any of that in school. And that, like you said, you're one of the A-listers. You're the person that calls. That's I can't say it enough. That speaks volumes to your character. You know, forget the musicianship, just like to you as a person. You know, I know I can trust this person. I know when this person comes, they're going to bring their A game. I know I don't have to worry about this person. Even in your teens, you know, I know she's not going to run out there and get wild and all that. And I mean,
I was serious.
Yeah. And that you stayed there. I mean, that you knew then at that age, because like I said, at that age, that's when we're all like, you know, young and dumb, you know, but that you stayed there and that you kept focused on all that stuff and that you didn't need anybody to watch over you. I mean, this is where I am. You don't have to worry about me. This is where I'm going, you know, and I'm going to hang with a certain kind of people.
Right.
You know.
And I always give credit to my parents, and I will never forget on that note what you just said, that when I asked my mother, could I take a break, you know, USC would let you take a break and come back. And I was in my third year. And I remember her words to this day. She said, absolutely, because that is part of your education as well.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing?
How
many parents would say to their 17-year-old, you can go out on tour to Europe, but they used to tell me, we always knew that this was your path.
Wow. And you're right. How many parents say that? How many parents say, oh, what, for the music thing? That's just a hobby. You know, that's not, you know, I need you to be a lawyer. I need you to be a doctor. I need you to be whatever, you know, this is what I need. But what about what I want? And that your parents recognize that.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I said, I can't read this book. I can't wait to read this book. I cannot wait to read this book.
Thank you. I hope everybody feels the same way when it comes out, because it was really a work from the heart, like inspired, God inspired. You know, because I really want this younger generation to avoid some of the pitfalls that are there. And now the business is something else. I don't even know if it's the music business anymore, is it? I don't know what that is. Jimmy.
You
we better not go there, because I don't have anything good to say.
It's really interesting because you kind of touched upon that as far as like the musicianship, and that you had to work to sing. And I mean, you knew what it was to take care of your voice. And I mean, you actually put in that work. Your voice, like you said, your whole body is the instrument or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you alluded to today, it's like, and me as an instrumentalist, it's like, okay, so you hit a button to do that, you know. But I need this. I need that.
Right. But can you really play, darling? Not the MPC. Can you? Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
So you're talking about as far as getting into that. Don't get me started.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So, and I mean, there is such a thing as far as like keeping up with the technology part of it, because things do change. I get that. But I mean, you could never like forget like the physical part of it. I mean, this is it, you know,
Yeah.
and that's where the work is, you know.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you as far as like your songwriting too, because that's another thing too. You know, we don't need the machines to make the music. Yeah.
That's
We
right.
need you to make the music. We need
Exactly.
you to write.
Yeah.
When did you discover, or was that always like your lifelong thing to eventually get into songwriting, production, or whatever? Did you start writing back then, or you
I
know?
started
Because
writing.
again, I mean, you had the best teachers.
I started
So,
writing. I did. I really was blessed to have Patrice and George
mhm.
and friends that were incredible writers like Freddie Washington and Sherry Brown. You know,
Stevie
I always
Wonder.
right. I always had a knack for writing,
Mhm.
and whenever Patrice and I wrote, I wonder if she remembers this. She would come to my house and she'd already had the track done, and
Of course.
we were right, and
Uh-huh.
we would like some of the lyrics, you know, we would write together.
Uh-huh.
And Eddie, I am not kidding you. Within 45 minutes to an hour, that song was written. It was just a flow. It just happened.
Mhm.
What is that song? Where There Is Love.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, we would talk about it for about 10 minutes, and
Mhm.
then it would just come.
Wow.
And that's how writing has been for me.
Mhm.
I'm not good at one of those contrived writers, or let's write this kind
I
of
love
song.
that. Contrived writers. I love it.
You know, I'm not that. I'm really
Uh-huh.
not.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What is your is there a procedure? Is there a method to your songwriting? I mean, do you have to be what is it inspired, or do you like take the time? Okay, today I'm going to write. Is it like that with you, or what is your
Usually they just come.
okay?
Sometimes I wake up in the morning with a melody, or I could be driving and I hear the melody and the lyrics, and I hear the whole production, and
Mm-hmm.
it just it just
Mm-hmm.
comes. Like one day I was when I wrote Hide and Seek for Tracy Spencer, I heard the story, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the I said the lyrics. I was talking about, I was developing this story, and then I said, oh, hide and seek,
Mm-hmm.
cool as
Mm-hmm.
a hood. And
So, Lynn, do you play an instrument?
I played violin for about 13 years of my life when I was younger.
Okay.
And I play enough piano to get the chords out and to
Okay.
present a song.
Okay,
Yes.
that's why I asked, because as a songwriter, and especially like you said, you're driving along and you come up with a melody, you come up with lyrics and all this stuff. So you can hear this in your head. You can hear
Yeah.
the whole production in your head.
I hear the
How do you?
chords. I hear, yeah,
Okay,
everything.
and you do know enough of the piano where you can play those chords for like a
Yeah.
Patrice Rushen or a George Duke, whatever.
Well, I don't play
And I
like
mentioned them
them.
because I mean, it could be Stevie, whatever. I mean, how do you convey that to like those musicians?
I play the chords, very
Okay.
simplistic version of piano playing.
But I
And
mean, it's not enough to where they understand. I mean, they know
I
where you're
sing
going
the
with it.
vocal. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. There's a story about that in the book that you're going to find pretty interesting. That's when I learned, don't drop your songs off at record companies,
Oh
because you
no.
might hear them later.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Really?
But it's, that's all part of the education. This is the music business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
How were you when you understood that thing, that this is not fun and games, this is a business? Because I mean, up until then, I mean, it's fun. Oh man, I love to sing, I love to play. That's what I
you
love to
know what?
do.
If everybody did above board business, business that
Good point.
was beneficial for not just their greedy selves, but for the artists as well, we could still keep having fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe some of the artists that went through what they went through, like Prince, wouldn't have gone through what he went through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really of the mind now that we need to, a wise man profited from the experience of others. I say, be independent. And that's one of the blessings of the way things are now. You don't really need record companies.
There you go. You're
But
so
back
right.
then and there, back where the time where I came up, we needed record companies. And this is what I heard so many times. I was tired of hearing it. Well, we need something that sounds more a little bit like Whitney Houston. Or do you have a Mariah Carey type of song? Like if they don't have something to compare you to, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have someone to compare you to.
Mm-hmm. My personal story was the Kissing Game. That's what I was told. I was like trying to get into a reduction, and maybe that's what it is, a production deal, a production deal. And I'm more like a smooth jazz because my training is classical. I started with classical playing, classical training. So I'm like trying to get a production deal, and the Kissing Game was the hot new song then, and I'll never forget that. It's like, and I forgot who it was I was speaking to. That's nice. I like that, but we need something like the Kissing Game. Can you write something like that?
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It just lets me know that they have no regard for the creative process.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
you have those groups.
Business.
Mm-hmm. And you have those groups or those artists that, hey, they are who they are because they did something different.
Exactly.
So
I'm like 22 at Warner Brothers, and they're asking me to write with Christopher Cross, who up to then only had one really hit song, Sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't think my style is sailing this way. Yeah. So
yeah.
So what you're really saying is you want this young talent to revive. And I'm not hating. I'm not saying
oh yeah, I understand.
He was a talented guy, not taking anything away from Christopher. But
because those were great songs though.
the game they play. You understand?
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I'm trying to get a production deal.
I'm
not here to try to revive those that you already have signed to your production company. Hello.
Wow.
So I think for what I know now, would be the best time for me and which is why I am doing what I'm doing at this point in time. Because if I knew then what I know now.
Is your book and that's what I kind of like, that's what I like about doing this and speaking to people such as yourselves, because I like to consider it as more of a teaching tool. Now this is what this person did. This is how this person got to where they are and all this stuff. This is not an unsung or behind the music or whatever. This is more like those that are coming up in the business. This is how this person made it, and you want to listen to this. And everything you're saying, it's like, I got goosebumps now. I'm just thinking, I'm listening to you like you really need to listen to this story. You really need to listen to the story. You're working on your CD now, your first CD, right?
Right. Ever. Yes.
Right. After all these years. And this, and again, speaks to how busy, you stayed busy. Whether it be in the studio, on tour, you stayed busy all those years. And that was like always my question. And I got to tell you, I was actually looking back in the day, before there was an internet or whatever. Did she release a CD? Did she release an album yet? I was actually looking. Yeah.
Because I went through so many of those yucky experiences that, I didn't even, Eddie, have you ever been on a path and then you realize, I don't even want to be a solo artist. I don't even want that life. You know, it didn't look like something that I wanted to live, you know? Like musically, yes, but the life within the business, signed to a record company as an artist, and I saw how they dealt with people's lives. No, so, you know, I kind of walked away and did my own thing outside the music industry as well.
You're that person that, like, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong here, and I kind of consider myself that, you know, I'm not sure that I even want to be on the front of the album cover. I want to be on the back, you know.
Right.
I want to be in that list of credits, you know.
Right.
And like, just like you said, I'd be totally good with that.
Because I'm not ego driven. I really love to sing and I love music. You know? So I wanted to honor my gift, my God-given gift. But not at the expense of my integrity.
And you only get one.
That's it. That's it. You know, so yeah, you might have whatever, but how are you living? Where are you going when you're no longer living?
There you go.
You know, sell your soul, not for me.
Wow. How do you man, you got like a wealth of advice, and I keep focusing on this book. I cannot wait for this book to come out. Is there a date? Do we have a date yet, or will it be in 2020, or are we waiting until 2021?
It will be released at the beginning of 2021.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, needless to say, I'm sure there's going to be like a bunch of advice in there.
Yes, it is.
Good.
I tried not to be preachy, you know. More.
I mean, if anybody can offer that, I mean, you definitely can. You know.
Yes.
My gosh.
I think that we need to like bring more light into the music business for sure. You know. Kind of dark, isn't it?
I was thinking, what's Jeffrey Osborne? Speaking of light.
It's like, you know, wow, don't I miss J.O. and Howard Hewitt and you know.
What was the name of that? You Really Don't Need No Light? Was that the name of it?
Really Don't Need No Light.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like, what is going on? What is wrong with the music industry? These people are still incredible talent.
That's something that was going to be my next question. How do you see the music business like in the future? I mean, needless to say, COVID has changed things, you know, big time. But if it weren't for that, how did you see the business going forward?
I think that the business right now is very dark and demonic to me. I'm sorry I went there.
No, please.
You don't want me to go to that spiritual place.
Please do.
And I think that God's people really need to pierce the darkness and come back with some light. And not just stop trying to assimilate to this madness that it is. I don't even think it's about music anymore. It's like some weird spiritual battleground,
I agree.
You know, place to win souls and make money and, you know, all this weirdness.
I agree.
Throwing up signs and Illuminati, you know, what? But can I put you on a session if George Duke was here with George Duke, and could you do the session?
Wait a minute, say that again?
If George Duke was here and you had a session to do with him, you know, could you do the session? Could you bring it?
Good
you know
question.
What I mean? Is your musicianship on a certain level, or are you just looking the part as a commodity
as a commodity?
As a commodity, yeah.
And again, this is about Lynn Davis. This and me. I probably apologize for this early. We keep mentioning George, and you know, I mean, George
okay.
You did your thing with George, but I mean, and again, I mean, there's like this long list of people that you played with, but this is about LYNN Davis. And I mean, the things you've done. And like I said, your book coming out, you're finally working on your CD. Another thing that I can't wait to hear. I cannot
And
wait
I
to hear
also have, I teamed up with another writer, and we formed a production company, and we have a song that's coming out by the end of the year. So that'll probably be out before LYNN Davis from the Vault and the book. So, you know, I finally came to a place where, you know, I really felt that God wanted me to re-engage.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you stepped away, how long was that? Did you like completely step away, or did you just, I'm just not going to be as busy, you know?
You know,
because I mean, you worked what was, like you said, like 20 some years. I mean, just straight.
Listen, you know, it was so
straight.
amazing, and I've never told this story, but I was at Radio City, and I think it was with Marvin Gaye, and I met the East Coast singers that I've always loved. I mean, they're so phenomenal. Lisa Fisher, Fonzie Thornton, you know, Lucas Crew, Paulette, you know. We were on tour together with Marvin, and
Marvin Gaye, that is, for you guys that are keeping score. Exactly, Marvin Gaye, that is.
Right, Marvin Gaye. I was like, the Marvin Gaye, the last tour that he ever did. And I was about 20 years old. So, you know, I was so caught up in the beauty and the blessing of it all that I wasn't even looking at where I was, because I'm not egotistical like that, you know. But I tell you what, I think this brother knew that he had to give me a perspective. And thank you, Fonzie Thornton, because he took me over to the side. He said, you do know that you are the new West Coast diva, don't you? And I just kind of looked at him like, oh, Eddie, I didn't even see myself like that, really.
Wow.
I didn't even, but it gave me a perspective. I thought everybody worked as much as I did, or we did, but I did. I really, really did, you know?
It's really something, because as I'm going,
I worked more than you, and I worked more than, no, you know, it wasn't like that. Back in those days, we all kind of indirectly helped each other, you know? Not just vocalists either, but like if Paul Jackson was doing the such and such, and Freddie was doing another gig, you know, we turn each other on. I think I introduced Paul Jackson to George Duke. I mean, I don't. That's what he says.
You were so one of the few. I mean, you shared. I
always have, but it wasn't always reciprocated. You know.
Welcome to the music business, right?
Yeah, yeah. So there was a point where I was like, okay, I've done this. I'm just repeating myself. After I worked with Yanni, I wanted to do something that was going to, I wanted to work with children. I wanted to contribute to society in a different way. You know, I feel like the music business kind of breeds a sort of narcissism, you know? Yes. And I didn't want to be in my 50s and 60s trying to be a 7-8 and living out of my suitcase and wondering how I'm going to pay my mortgage. I don't want to do that anymore. You know, and if you're not taking it to the next level and becoming a solo artist, then you have to consider the music was beginning to change then, and hip hop was on the scene, and they were more self-contained, and they didn't need a lot of background singers. And so I thought, well, I'll probably end up having to, you know, be on the road a lot. I missed so much from being on the road. I missed graduations and holidays, and my mom kept my dog for me, and you know, it's just right. And so I walked away, Eddie, and who walks away at the top of their career? Well, I did, and people didn't understand it. But what I found interesting, that nobody really called to ask. You know, they just assumed whatever. And I went and did my thing. I became a probation officer for a minute.
Are you serious? Really?
Yeah. So like, right, because of some of the decisions that I made then, I am sitting very nicely, retired, not having to work.
I always admired people like that who do walk away at the top of their game. And again, that goes back, and I keep saying it, I mean, that goes back to like your thinking, your focus, that goes back to you as a person and all that. Those people that can do that, that don't hang on, you know, it's time for me to step away for a minute.
Yes.
That's huge. That's a huge decision. And I admire people that do that. I really do. I really do.
Wish so many other people would have had that perspective. They may still be with us. They just, you know.
Good point.
Man, Whitney didn't have to sing another note for me, baby. She did her thing. You know, if you needed to just take a vacation,
a
Luther, retirement, you could do that, Whitney Houston, because you already had left an incredible legacy.
Luther Vandross was another. Prince,
Luther,
all of them, you know.
Prince, Vesta, Phyllis Hyman.
You're right. Donnie,
you know,
I mean, all of them.
It's so, when you can't listen to the chatter, you can't let the chatter penetrate your soul.
And you have,
you have
and
to
you wonder
know
how
who
many.
you are.
You do. And you wonder how many of those people were led by like the outside forces, if you know what I mean, you know.
Exactly. So like I saw Prince like go to another place, that he mellowed and matured, and you know, he was good. I think he was good.
Wow.
Yeah. I do personally, when I see him, I go, oh wow. Now he's on the piano, and he was just such an incredible talent. You know?
It's interesting. Prince was one of the few that I used to wonder, like, okay, I mean, the man was a genius, you know, musically.
Yes.
He was a genius business-wise as well.
Right.
And some of the stuff that he taught, first of all, it's like, I remember thinking, man, how do you have time to learn everything that this man has learned and still stay on top of the game in all these things, you know?
Exactly.
I mean, he would come out and speak about things that I thought I knew, and it's like, no.
Didn't realize how intelligent he was.
He was crazy intelligent.
Yeah. And so was Michael, though. And he's very quiet about it.
Yeah.
But Stevie Wonder, to me, in my opinion, personified the example that I was speaking of earlier, of really cultivating and encouraging and supporting new talent in your dreams. And he afforded so many of the vocalists that I know, but I just want to give him the respect in this moment. From me, I was able to go to the Seth Riggs because of Stevie Wonder.
Wow, really?
Yes. He actually financed my lessons for like a year or two.
Is that right?
See, that only Stevie Wonder. I don't know of anybody else in the business that has invested in young people like he.
And there needs to be a lot
expecting
of that.
Nothing in return, just want to invest.
Wants the best for you.
Being your best. How incredible is that?
That's great. That's and you talk about that in your book, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I got to tell you, going back to what you said, is it Fonzie? I just want to make sure I got the name right.
Fonzie Thornton, yeah.
Okay. What he said, as far as like you being like, you know, one of the West Coast singers, as I was again going through like the list of people that you work with, I'm like, and even what I'm saying now, you know, she worked with people. It's like, no, she's one of them, you know. I mean, you are, I mean, LYNN Davis, but I mean, you're in that list with the Aretha Franklins and the Whitney Houstons and this and that and the other. You are LYNN Davis.
Well, that's what's so special about this project that we're releasing. I worked with a couple of incredible writers, Matthew Wilder, Dennis McCoskey, and producers. And we wrote these incredible songs and decided that, it would be dishonorable not to for people never to hear them. And they're completely they're complete masters. They're done. So LYNN Davis from the vault.
Love it. Lynn, I want to ask you one other question regarding another artist that you work with, and let me make sure I get this right. Is it Toshinobu Kubota?
Toshinobu Kubota in Japan.
I got it right.
You got it right. Yeah, what a talented young man. I would compare him to being like the Michael Jackson of Japan.
Wow.
He could sing, baby, and dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking authentically. It was genuine within him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with him on two different occasions. The first year kind of by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was wonderful. A bit of a culture shock to stay in Japan for 10 months straight without coming home.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You know, like whenever my friends were coming in, like with Michael Jackson or Shaka Khan, I was like running, you know, whenever I saw somebody, I was like,
like Michael and Shaka.
Who are you?
So am I being presumptuous to say that you did learn the language while you were there?
I did. I went to Berlin,
and of course,
as a matter of fact, and had one-on-one. And language is such as if you don't practice it and use it, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the second year, and George asked me to call a couple of the vocalists in 101 North. And that was the last year that I worked in Japan, and you'll have to hear about all of that in the book.
Yes, okay.
But
I'll be getting the first. I'll be hunting all over to get the first copy of that. I literally can't wait. I cannot wait.
But we sang in Japanese. We traveled all around Japan.
That was my next question. You had to sing in Japanese.
Mm-hmm. It was wonderful.
Yeah. How long were you with him?
For 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Recording too?
Did I do any albums with Toshi? I don't think I did any albums.
No. Oh, okay.
Did I?
See? This woman has worked so much with everybody. Let's see. Did I?
No, seriously. Sometimes I'm driving in the car and I hear something. I go, "Is that me?" Then I come home and look at my discography and go, "Oh yeah, I was thinking, yeah, that was." Yeah.
And I'm sure that's but almost practically like every song you hear on the radio, right, Lynn? I mean.
Listen, I have this story. I was working with, wait, let me get it right. See, I still don't know. Mick Jagger.
I
was working on an album with him. And
with Mick Jagger. He
was so sweet. When I think back to it, I'm a bit embarrassed. We worked for like 2 weeks, several times a week, a day in those weeks. And he was just so gracious and so kind. And him and I would go and play the pinball machine, right? Mm-hmm. And he was kicking my butt, you know. He was like, and so finally the second week, I actually won. And I was like, yay! I was like, yay, Nick, I finally beat you. And one of his blokes said, "Darling, it's not Nick, it's Mick. Mick Jagger." And
it's so funny when you had said that.
Molded.
When I heard you say Nick, I mean, you were so matter of fact, but I heard you say Nick. I'm like, oh, she means Mick.
I had been saying it the whole time. And then I started to think, maybe I used to see him just kind of smiling and laughing at me, and he'd give me a hug. Cause I was like, Nick, did you like that? Was that take good, Nick? I was Nick, and he was so sweet. He never said a thing.
Never said anything.
He was probably like, this Black woman don't even know who I am. And of course I knew who he was. But
right.
I thought it was Nick. And after that, I got invitations to go to his, to everything that he had. He had,
Nice.
Christmas parties, and
Nice.
I like people like that.
Mm-hmm,
I think it was probably refreshing for him to have someone around him that just dug his music and wasn't tripping on, oh, I'm working with Mick. Right.
And he's not the wild man.
Right. No, I didn't see any of that. It was wonderful.
Wow.
He
That's
was
awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So LYNN. I talk about the good, and I talk about the bad, and then I'm very transparent in this book, and I talk about a couple of decisions that I regretted, because you don't always know where you are. No.
Without man. Okay, I'll just come out and ask. Can you share one of them, or do you want to reserve those for the book?
I will say this.
Okay.
Is that it becomes so second nature, because this is your life now. That it's easy to not see where you are. When you're dealing with, one day you're doing a session for, the Jackson 5 or Michael, and the next day you're working with Steven Spielberg or Lilo Ham, It's easy. Well, I guess it was not easy, but that's one of my two regrettable decisions, when I got called to do something and I chose to do something else, and I called somebody else to do the pre-production for me, and they ended up doing this duet for someone, and that was a big poof-ah. And they'll never tell the story, but I'm telling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The book.
Right. Above Circumstance, the first part of 2021.
Yes.
Okay. And the album From the Vault. I said the album, the CD From the Vault. And that's going to be the first part of January as well. I'm sorry, the first part of 2021 as well.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
LYNN, I can go on and on and on and on and on.
This has been so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for doing it. Like I said, I mean, I've been a fan. I've been a quiet fan all these years. It's such an honor for me to finally meet you. It really is.
It's an honor to meet you as well,
man.
Which is always one of my favorite groups.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I got goosebumps. Like, she was
I love Switch. I mean, you guys were doing the darn thing, and you just were a great vocalist, but the musicianship, how many groups were doing that? How many groups had the whole package like that?
Thank you. We had fun.
Philip is still blowing. I mean,
I was just gonna say, and you knowing Philip Ingram, that's what I had to deal with all these years.
That's my brother.
Oh yeah, same. Yep. Awesome.
Thank God for Philip all the time. Well, thank you. I'm glad that he hooked us up, and this has been a pleasure.
Exactly. Thank you for doing that. Shout out to Philip Ingram, because I mean, he's like, have you spoken to LYNN? I'm like, I don't even know LYNN. Really? You know LYNN? It's like, yeah. Let me make a call. Yeah, Philip, please. So again, thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you,
Alrighty.
Eddie.
LYNN Davis, On the Playground, where the players play. Again, thank you.
All right. Okay.
And again, one more time. The book, Above Circumstance, the CD, From the Vault. Look for both of them. The first part of 2021.
Yes.
I love you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Eddie.
All righty. Take care.
You too.